Hey friends, welcome back to the channel Creatively Sandra. If you are new here, I'm Sandra, and if you are returning, thank you for coming back. It's a craft day, so we are in the craft room. Today is our Let's Create Magic collaboration, and this collaboration is a monthly creators, different than YouTube creators, any other kind of creation, collaboration with a couple of my friends. So we have Michele and Adrian from Raising a Disney Princess. We have Vicki from Vicki's Tigger Tales and Ginger from Just Ginger's Love of Disney. And each month we are celebrating a craft, we're celebrating a theme, and this month's theme is International Friendship Day. So we are all doing things related to friendship. I decided to go way back, although it's kind of new again and out there, but we're going to do some shrink plastics. So I want to make some earrings of some friendships that are near and dear to me in Disney Pixar world. And so, like I said, we're going to use some shrink plastic. We're going to use today, which is printer shrink plastic. So this one you can actually run through your inkjet printer. And so that's what I did. I went and gathered some images I purchased on Etsy of some of my favorite characters to represent friendship. And so we're going to make kind of duo earrings out of them. The ones that I've chosen are Carl and Doug, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde, and Vanellope and Ralph. And so we're going to try our hand at some dangle earrings and some post earrings, depending on what size these shrink down to. So I already started doing the printout because you didn't need to see that, but here's a practice page. I had found some images, like I said, on Etsy and purchased those, and started to play around with the sizing. So you can see this was my test page just on regular paper, and so I've got the duos. I had to get rid of some white space to be able to move them closer. One thing you don't want to do is, especially with the printer ones, you don't want to waste it. So you want to try and compact the space. It was my last sheet of this, so I really wanted to get what I could out of it. But I didn't spend that much time. I could have done better, but this was my test sheet, basically. So you can see these are the larger ones. They're going to become dangle earrings, I hope. And these are going to be possibly post earrings. We'll see what they shrink down. So this is my actual sheet. And you'll notice the colors are a little bit dull on it, but that's okay because when you shrink things down, they intensify. So the colors might actually be too bright when we shrink, but we'll see. I started to say about the size, you're gonna get probably half to I don't even know, actually, maybe shrink down, which is why I did a couple sizes here, because I'm not really sure. I did it all the time, or kind of kept, I even saw somebody make a ruler that they shrunk down so that they could compare the regular size ruler to the shrink plastic ruler to know how much or what was going to be the end result size-wise of the item. I'm not that precise, so it's okay. This is just for me. So what I'm going to do is cut these out. I'm going to add a hole for the jump rings on some of them, and we're going to dive right into that, and then we'll get into the shrinking. Actually, I think what we're going to do today is try and cut them out on my Scan and Cut. So the Scan and Cut is an amazing machine because it can scan this whole thing in and then cut out the shapes. That's the other reason I had my test page here, because I'm going to run that through first and see how well it does on the cutting. And if it does well, then we'll do that. So you may have noticed that the machine didn't pick up all the images, and that's okay. So it cut out most of them, and the rest we can cut out by hand. And I did tape this down a bit. So let's see how we did. And actually, it didn't cut all the way through on some of them, so Okay, it didn't work for, I may have needed more pressure, but the nice part is this will be really easy to fussy cut with the edge already there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then we will come back with the finished. Okay, so I've got our pieces all cut out and ready to go. These are now ready to be shrunk. I did do fussy cutting on the Vanellope and Ralph characters, and the reason there is you'll see these did not work on the scan and cut because they don't have a fine line of black around it. You see, like, these images do, so they were easier to cut. I had a really easy time, even though the scan and cut didn't cut all the way through the plastic, shrink plastic. It was very easy for me to almost just pull it away and have to do very little cutting. I certainly could have played with the scan and cut, the pressure of the blade and everything so that it would have cut properly, but because I was not practicing or anything, only had the one sheet, I didn't want to mess around, so cutting out the rest was. I'm going to start with Carl. Let's zoom in a little bit here. Now this is the fun part. Now he's going to try to blow away, and so I'm going to use just a little paintbrush to kind of hold him in place at times. I think I'm also going to try it upside down. You do want to be careful with what you're using to hold it down because it will cause dents in the shrink plastic. We're going to try him upside down, but this is the coolest part. So I've got a heat tool, and it's a really low volume one. It gets quite hot. This is not something, it looks like a hair dryer, but you definitely do not want to use it in your hair. Once it is hot enough, I'm going to start applying heat, and as soon as this starts to warm up, the piece itself, it's going to start to shrink. Ooh, there's one more thing I needed to get out. I'm going to try to do that with another hand because this is actually going to need to be flattened. So I've got a couple of blocks here, clear blocks, that I'm going to use to flatten the piece as it starts to, or once it's finished, you can just flatten it. Now, it's going slow here at first till it starts to heat up, and then suddenly it'll kick into gear. You can see it start to move now. And like I said, it's going to blow away because there's a little bit of air from the heat tool as well, and it just starts to shrink up. Now, lots of people do this in an oven, and that's a great way too. But I'm used to, not sure why it's forming that bubble in the middle because that part hasn't gotten hot yet. Let's go ahead and turn it over. Be careful with these because the whole thing gets hot. So this will straighten out, and look at him. Oh my gosh. And I just realized a big mistake. Big mistake. I forgot to punch the hole in it first. Not sure I can do that now, but we will get a hole in him somehow. So just flattening him for a second, and he is a flat piece. How cute is that? Okay, so imagine he was this size and he ended up going down to this. So I'd say kind of about half the size at least. And that's going to make a really cute size for an earring. All right, so let me see. I have 2 hole punches. One of them is super duper. Well, we'll do that after. So let me show you what I should have done. And you need to add the hole because this is going to be an earring, and there's not a great place to add the hole on this because we're going to get his eyes. So we're going to kind of do it. Should I do it over here or over here? Let's see. It seems like a big hole, but when this whole thing shrinks, it's going to be smaller. So there is my hole. Now it looks like another eye. I don't love that, but let's go ahead and try Doug. It'll be interesting to see how the small ones compare. So while this is heating, you know, this is my shrunk one. This is the smaller one I started with. So that's going to go pretty small too. When we work on the smaller ones, I have a little bowl that I'm going to bring in because it's really hard to keep them still. It's very interesting how this makes that little pocket in the middle till you turn it. Look at him. And see how the color intensified? The color was this, and it intensified to that. Okay, he's done. We're going to give him a quick tap to flatten. Okay, and now he's there. He has a hole, and if you can see, that hole is much smaller. So that's the reason why we needed to do it that size, so we still can get a jump ring in there for the earrings. So that's going to be one pair. right there. Very cute. Let's go ahead and see what the smalls did. And I'll do Doug and Carl again because I want to compare the two. So I'm going to do this one in the bowl because, like I said, the smaller they get, the harder it is to keep it on the table, keep it still. You do want to be careful in this case because the bowl is also going to get hot. So just be careful not to touch it right away. We'll see how well this does in the bowl. You can see it starting to shrink. This is just the coolest thing. You can watch it in an oven as well, but I love this part. I just love doing it this way and being able to see it in progress. I've got to turn that over again. And it does flatten out, and then I'll dump it out onto the table to get flatter. So let me make sure it's not too hot. And there we go. How cool is this? Now this one I didn't put a hole in because I'm thinking of making these into studs. And I will tell you that I looked for my studs backs that I cannot find. So they won't be made into studs today. So we'll work on the dangles. But how stinking cute is this? So look at these two versions. All right, let's do Doug. And then I'm going to speed through the rest of them. And this is just great for the comparison size. I'm going to remember to make my ear holes in the larger ones. I'll show you that again in a second. As soon as Doug gets to size, let's see if I can turn him over. There we go. Kind of want to hold this up for you, but my bowl is getting hot. Let's dump him out. Squish him. This is the coolest. And there is little Doug. Oh my gosh, how cute. And so there are the 2 Carls and 2 Dougs. So like I said, we're going to have to get a hole in this guy. We'll probably have to do a little drilling on that because it is a super hard plastic now. And we're going to coat these as well. So let's take those out of the way. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to these, and then we will just speed up this process. There's sometimes not a great place to put a hole because it's going to make the earring dangle a bit, but it is a dangle, so that's okay. So we're going to put nicks in his ear. Penelope right at the top of her head there. And Ralph is a weird one. So we either can put it here and then add more links so that he's still centered, or we can go with one of his fists and he's gonna dangle a little bit. I think I'm gonna try the fist, just in the corner of one, and see if we can get close to, he's still gonna dangle a bit, but that might be okay. So those are the last ones that need the holes. Let's go ahead and heat all these up. Okay, for this next part, we want to get a clear, nice finish on top of each of these. So what I'm going to do, I'm taking some embossing ink. That is what holds the powder on here. So, and I'm going to wet each one of these. I'm going to try one first and see how this goes. Just pressing that in to get it covered. Let's move these out of the way. This is a clear embossing powder. It melts like a wax, but stays on your image. The other thing I need to make sure is that that hole still, I want to try to pick this up without getting too much of the powder off. And I want to make sure there's none in the hole. Okay. So, wiping any excess. I got a little extra down there, but I'm going to sweep it back through to make sure we get some on it. And it's going to dry clear. So let's move that out of the way for a moment. Maybe I can use this to hold this in place. And we're going to go ahead and melt that on there now. So we're done shrinking, so it won't shrink anymore. This is just going to give it a gloss. And there is a thicker embossing powder that I normally use and don't have that handy, so we are going to try it with this. And I'll show you what that looks like once it dries clear on there. Not dries, heats and melts, I should say. I'm hoping it gives it a nice finish look. We might need to do multiple layers. That should be good. Now you can see, well, can you see? Let's see, you can see a glossy shine there. I'm going to add more, get the more embossing powder on here. And bring that in. And all of this can go back in the container, so I'm not worried about that big pile of embossing powder there. We're just going to heat this again. If you can see the powder, whoops, you know, kind of dulls it there, and then you'll see the shine once we finish. I have seen this portion work better in the oven. Like I mentioned, I've also covered them with resin before. Okay, that one's good, so we're going to let that dry a bit before I stick my hand in it again. And we'll grab another. I'll do one more with you guys, and then I'll go finish them off camera, and then we can move on to the next step. Get a nice coating on Doug. Now put him down in it. I'll just scoop the rest of this back into the bottle. Again, I want to make sure that hole stays. So I'm just going to give it a little poke. And we're ready to melt this. So again, you see it's kind of dusty looking. Now we're just trying to melt the powder to get that shine. If I was doing a whole batch of these, it would make much more sense to do it in the oven and to use the thicker embossing powder. And then there is Doug with his shine. And it just makes it look a little more polished. All right, I'm going to coat the rest of them and then we'll come back and make some earrings. Okay, for the last step here, we're going to go ahead and attach the earring backs or earring dangles to these. So with a jump ring, you use 2 pairs of pliers. If you haven't done this before, there's lots of lessons on this, but I'm just pulling it apart. I'm going to add the earring first, and then the charm, the shrink plastic charm, loop that through as well, and then I'm just going to do a quick check to make sure I've looped it in the right direction. I'm trying to do this backwards. Let's not do that. Let's go forward. We're going to need to do 2 loops here, because if I don't, it's going to go this way and then it'll hang sideways. So let's close off one. There we go. And then we're going to do a second loop that joins the jump ring, the first jump ring, and the earring. So, connecting it like so. And then we're going to put this one on. don't know how well you can see that, but those are connected now and should hang in the right direction. And then we're just going to close up. That's because I'm trying to do this standing for your video. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. It's really pretty simple. It's just a matter of holding things properly. So if you can see that, trying to make sure I'm showing you guys. So you've got the jump ring open. We're going to grab the other side and just bring that to a close. And so you've got one earring there. And then we'll go ahead and do Judy. So that one goes on the earring, and we will close it up. Now, I don't think I recorded the putting the studs on, but I did find my studs, so I will just show you those in the end. The stud ones, all you do is glue the stud with E6000 glue to the back of the shrink plastic piece, and literally that's it. Let them dry, and then you have your earring. Okay, my second one is going to go through the earring as well as through the charm jump loop ring, and then again we're going to close this loop. You have your second one. How cute are these? Let's go ahead and put them on a little card, and you'll see I would put the a backer on here as well if I was giving them as a gift. Well, I'll put a backer on either way. But there are our Nick and Judy earrings. Cute, right? And let's finish up and I'll show you the rest. Okay, we're back with the finished product. You guys ready? Let's start with the one we started with, which is Carl and Doug. And so here are the finished earrings. These are the dangle. This again is the larger one. Let me hold those for a second. So can't really see too much of the, I'm trying to show you the gloss on the front, but I think they came out pretty cute. Now you can do, I could have added beads or, you know, things to make them a little more embellished. I'm going to keep them plain, but these are super fun. The best friends, Carl and Doug. We have our Ralph and Vanellope. Now, trickiness on this, as you may recall, was where to punch the hole. So Ralph kind of dangles to the side a little bit. And their sizing proportion is off. So obviously Vanellope should be much smaller than Ralph, but to have the ears or the earrings similar sizes, you're going to have Ralph smaller, but these came out really cute. And then the last dangle pair is, I think, my favorite, Judy and Nick. And so what was nice about these is they're kind of very proportionate, both narrow, skinny, and longer, and so they worked out really well. You have a little bit of a slant on Judy because of the, again, having to take from one ear instead of kind of the middle of her head or body. Nick I kind of took from the ear too, so those kind of work well. And you have that set of friends. And then now for the small version that I did make into studs, and I'm not sure, I think I missed the video footage on putting these together, but it's just a flat back, kind of like a tack that you glue on with E6000 that turns them into a stud. And here is Carl and Doug. These are adorable. So I should have put them on my ears, but we'll wear them in a video soon. But these came out super cute, so I'm pleased with how that worked out. Again, you have Vanellope and Ralph. A little small to see him, so a lot of detail, he was small to begin with for his size. So it's kind of taken the details, you can't see it as well. This would actually be cute to have two of this one, and because you're doing it on a printer, you actually could flip the image and have them both facing inward. So there's lots of things you can do when you're playing around with this on the computer for the images. And then lastly, the tiny Nick and Judy. So, so cute. So make sure you go check out the other participants and see what they made for International Friendship Day. Go ahead and let me know what you thought of the project. Do you see yourself doing something like this? Shrink plastic is really easy. Like, we did it as kids, right? Let me know which pair you liked the best, what friendships. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe, go ahead and do that so you can see the next one that's coming out for next month. We'll let you know that theme when we get there. So happy International Friendship Day. Thank you for joining me and watching. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.